Greetings, programs. This is Wretch, and welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade Parliament of Knives. And in the last stream, in the last chapter, things got explosive again very quickly. We tried to warn them, but the Toreador Harpy, for lack of a better term, had her party ruined by people trying to blow it up and essentially frame some individuals for it. And now we are entering chapter 6, Archon. Let's go ahead and see where Silas's adventure takes him now. You dream. The city sidewalks are uniform, symmetrical in a way that only dream or artist could conjure them. The air is frigid and you shiver unconsciously, something so human that for a moment you forget your nature. Two figures emerge from the fog ahead of you, and as you get closer, their faces swirl into a recognizable form. Robert Ward and his Banu Hakim associate, Semik, huddled together, talking in muted tones as they look down on a prone figure splayed out on the concrete. A dead body. Didn't give us much of a choice, Ward is saying. This isn't the way I wanted it to go down. Suck it up, Bobby, Semik replies coldly. You knew this was the way this would turn out. Be honest with yourself, even if you lied to everyone else. The Brujah growls, but doesn't otherwise reply. You get closer, curious who they're talking about. They don't notice you as you crane your neck over to get a good look at the corpse. Semik sniffs with irritation. He's gone now, in any case. You'll need a new patsy. Shame, though. You were right about him. Silas was perfect for the role. You stare down into your own unblinking eyes, and your gaze travels downward over ragged flesh and snapped bone. The air suddenly smells of sulfur. Is this real? Or is your unconscious mind simply trying to make sense of recent events? Through smoke, a new vision. Hey, Suzanne. Another place, another time. Robert Ward walks side by side with Arundel, speaking together in animated conversation. You've done it. You've located the missing prince. What could have persuaded Arundel to run off with an anarch? I know this is difficult for you to understand, Ward says. There's an edge to his voice. It has the tell of a conversation that's been had many times before. But you gotta know that the whole thing is crooked. She's fought your ideas the whole way through. And that's why you can't leave, Robert, Arundel replies. You'll hardly be the last Brujah operating within the Camarilla. Work with me. We can make change together, even if it takes another century. Ward shakes his head. World's not going to wait that long. You know what I have to do. A growl rises in the back of Arundel's throat. Only you would talk to me like that in my own domain. Even Corliss wouldn't deny me to my face. We both want the same thing, boss, the Brujah grunts. And that's why you're still here, Arundel says. Eden would have you assassinated the moment I allowed her to send the order. But you haven't? No, I haven't. The dream vision dissipates. In the early years after your embrace, you'd seen almost as much of Arundel as you did Corliss. He would later become more reclusive, allowing your sire to train you as she saw fit. But as a fledgling, he'd share a select few skills with you. You can see him now through the dream ether. His eyes are serious, but not cold. He wants you to succeed and thrive. Ooh, another level up opportunity. Okay, so we have the ability to upgrade our dex, composure, and resolve, charisma, manipulation, and wits, strength, stam, and resolve, intelligence, dex, and wits. I love how it's just not straight physical attributes, straight mental attributes, and straight emotional. Let's see. All right. Strength, dex, and stam. That's all pretty good. What are we? We're still lowest in our intelligence. We still got a lowly intelligence of 20. And that would increase our dex and wits as well. So our wits are currently at 31. Our dex is at 54, which is awesome. You say the fourth one? Oh, we're also quite ravenous now, so we definitely need to get breakfast as soon as we wake up. Yeah, I think that this is probably a good one. Arundel understood that the world of the future was digital. He made certain that I had access to the latest technology and the tutoring to how to use it, take it apart, and build it back up again. So we'll get our intelligence to just bad instead of horrible. Our wits will get a little bit of a boost, and our dexterity will become even more formidable. So, yes, let's go with that. So, oh wow, our intelligence is 36% now. Our resolve is 40, our wits is at 44, our dexterity is at 63. So we're the best about getting out of the way of things. In an age before smartphones and ubiquitous internet, Arundel had been forward-thinking enough to see the writing on the wall, something that a great many elders find themselves incapable of doing. You still remember Picard grumping about how these glorified adding machines were nothing more than a fad, while the younger licks trained you on IBM compatibles and Apple computers. It's a shame that Arundel's been forced to largely abandon such modern tools in the age of the Second Inquisition, but all great troubles pass in time, as with this one. Through the memory, you feel stronger, the atrophy of your bureaucratic years serving coreless melting away. You emerge from your luxurious bed feeling absolutely ghastly. Your wounds have mended somewhat while you slept, but you have a good ways to go before you're good as new. Your hunger makes itself known as you catch your equilibrium. You'll be wanting to feed tonight, or your wounds won't be the only thing you have to worry about. How have you even managed to get back here in one piece? You get dressed and leave your private rooms, simultaneously eager for and dreading Gerard's morning update. The ghoul is sitting at his desk as usual, thumbing through a small pile of papers before settling on one and placing a pen on it as a placeholder. "Good evening, sir," he says. "Are you feeling recovered after all the commotion last night? It was reckless of you to go after those bombers, you know. You might not still be here tonight if things had turned out differently. It's admirable, though. I think the prince would be pleased that you did your part to help keep his domain secure." Well, thank you, Gerard. Have you learned anything new? Miss Gray has managed to keep a lid on the incident for the most part, although the information is filtering through networks of servants such as myself. We need to keep ourselves informed if we are properly serve your interests. I doubt I know more than you do, since you were there, though I believe Key was able to apprehend one of the individuals who set the bombs. I doubt he's found any kindred involved yet, but I have received word of a blood hunt. I also have an important message from your sire. That's not surprising, you say. I think you should take this seriously, sir. She says an Archon has been dispatched to the city. She says you know what that means. It means trouble. So an Archon is essentially a Camarilla enforcer, like Judge Dredd in vampiric form is probably the best way you can explain it. You're struck silent for a moment, stunned. An Archon dispatched to Ottawa? Either that means the most powerful kindred on the continent have learned that Prince Arundel is missing, or something even more sinister is going on. Archons act as ground enforcers for the near-mythical Camarilla elite, and they're rarely seen, even when they're actively deployed. Few kindred had ever met one in person, but when one is openly dispatched to a city, local kindred will bend over backwards to give the appearance of compliance. Many view it as a great shame, a strong suggestion that the local prince is incapable of keeping order in their own domain. Gerard properly reads the concern on your face. Well, someone quite powerful is concerned about the Anarchs causing trouble in public, I'd wager. That can't be the only reason, you mutter. Anarchs cause trouble like this all the time. It would be beneath the Archon's notice unless something else is happening alongside it. But how confident are you of that sentiment? Many younger kindred aren't aware of the existence of the Archons, much less their shadowy masters. Even you have only heard of them because of Corliss's intense battery of studies while you were a fledgling. Gerard remains dubious of your assessment. Well, the Anarchs are the problem. If the prince were here, that would be one thing, but if his disappearance has become widely known, these Archons might think they need to take matters into their own hands. Well, I hope you're right. An Archon means trouble regardless of the reason, but that seems to be the most straightforward theory. You seem worried, Gerard says. What else do you think it could be? Should I be looking into hiring on some bodyguards for you? You shake your head. If an Archon wants to do away with me, there's not much a bodyguard can do to stop it other than die a few seconds before they get to me. I just need to keep from stepping on any fingers. The ghoul frowns. I'll keep that in mind, sir. In any case, Miss Corliss would like you to come to her office early tonight, presumably regarding the recent arrival. Hunger gnaws at you. Are there any vessels waiting for me? You ask. Gerard shakes his head. These nights have been largely chaotic. The city is on high alert, and I have been unable to procure your meal. My sincerest apologies. Might I suggest you take some time to hunt before you go into the office tonight? It could clear your head. Miss Corliss won't be expecting you immediately, and with this Archon around, you wouldn't want to be stepping into the political pool while you're hungry. It's practical advice. At this rate, you'll grow accustomed to hunting again. The pampered life of Upper Camarilla society had blunted your fangs, but sharpening them on new victims almost makes you feel alive again. I'll do that, you say. Thank you for the advice, Gerard. Of course, sir. He purses his lips, pondering over something before speaking. This Archon, whoever she is, has the entire region's underworld quaking. My informants don't know her name, but the bosses are laying low and keeping quiet. So she's been here before? You ask. Gerard nods. I heard stories back when I was active in the Syndicate about a woman who single-handedly killed every member of an arms smuggling ring. They called her the Demon. We were left high and dry, looking for good hardware for months afterward. Word is the same woman was seen on the street late last night, exiting the police station after visiting with the sheriff. It doesn't take a genius to put two and two together and realize the Archon and the Demon are the same person. Keep your eyes open and play things safe. Okay, sir? You nod. Thank you, Gerard. Let me know if you hear anything else. Of course. You're just about to head out when you remember your Desert Eagle. You hadn't brought the weapon with you the previous night, and you'd regretted it. Then again, tonight you'll most likely be speaking to an Archon alongside your sire. Going to a meeting like that strapped to kill might not be seen as good form. Of course, you could always try to conceal the weapon, but one doesn't become an Archon by missing the small details. Do you want to bring your weapon with you? Yes. I'll only use it as a last resort, but having it on my side will give me a useful edge in negotiations. Things are getting a little bit more dangerous as we progress. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. You spend a few minutes to find an old shoulder holster you haven't used in almost a decade. The weapon fits, but it's tight. If you're going to carry concealed long term, you might want to eventually look into a new way of carrying it. You put a loose-fitting jacket on over top. It manages to cover the holster, but you'll have to keep it buttoned in polite company. By the time you've stepped out onto the cold, snow-swept Ottawa streets, you've decided where you wish to hunt. You wish you'd fed last night, but at least you'd still be on time for the exhibition. For all the good it did you. Where do you plan to sate your cravings? We're not going back to Confederation Park. You always have to have some variety where you feed. You can't just keep on going to the same restaurant over and over again. Well, I've recently become aware of a small community of homeless. They should make easy prey for a Nosferatu. Well, I don't want to necessarily feed on the homeless, just because some of them might have substances in them that could affect me. Let's try the Sapper's Staircase. Leads to a wide tunnel beneath Plaza Bridge. There are plenty of nooks and crannies to hide in after grabbing a victim. I don't know if this is someone else's territory, but we're about to find out. The bridge over the Rideau Canal splits in two, and where the halves diverge, a stairway leads you down into a tunnel running parallel with the canal. The Fairmont Chateau Lariat, I've never seen that word, looms majestically above the water, a modern castle with over 100 darkened windows watching over you like lidded eyes. Is anyone observing you from behind those panes of glass? Impossible to know, so you take your business below. You take the steps down, 2 at a time, eager to begin the hunt. You haven't seen many pedestrians since you arrived, but as with any other hunting ground in Ottawa, it's just a matter of time before an opportunity presents itself. Set of locked double doors marked restricted area can be easily pried open with my strength. Oh, that's not going to lead to anything bad whatsoever. I leave the confines of the tunnel and walk alongside the canal. I'll hide myself in the dark surrounding one of the larger shade trees and bushes separating the walkway from the water. So what do you guys think? Would it be best to hide in one of the small stone archways, leave the confines of the tunnel and walk alongside the canal, or go through the restricted area door and then draw them into the dark room like a trapdoor spider? I like that visualization though. That's nice. I don't really have one that's popping up at me. Like, the third option says adventure, but I'm not exactly sure that's the adventure that we want right now when we don't have a whole lot of blood in us. Hide? Well, yeah, well, all of them are hide. Let's see. Let's go for number 1. Okay. We'll hide in one of the small stone archways and see what happens. Whoop. There are 4 archways along the side of the tunnel closest to the canal, each leading close to the water down a small stairway. While most of the tunnel is well lit by several wall-mounted lamps, these nooks are cast in shadow, the perfect place to lie in wait for your prey. You wait for several minutes, growing anxious the more time passes. Your hunger claws at you in anticipation of being satiated, and somehow it feels even stronger than it did before you came down here. You feel relieved when you finally hear the sound of a person walking slowly through the tunnel, footfalls echoing off the concrete walls. You reach out with a curled arm, fingers spread like talons, and grab your victim by the arm, pulling them into the dark with you. You're surprised when the man twists in your grip and throws you back. You teeter on the brink, almost falling into the canal as you regain your balance. You'd gotten sloppy. Nor mortal could have done that if you hadn't been distracted by the strength of your bloodlust. "Stay back!" a gruff masculine voice shouts as your intended victim steps back into the light, revealing the uniform of an active duty police officer. His hand is on his gun, still holstered, but no less a threat. "Show yourself! Hands up!" Oh, hell. We can't drop the hunt, I don't think. Beating on a cop probably is going to get us in trouble with the sheriff, though. What do you guys think? I don't want to hurt him. I just want to feed from him. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm thinking either option 1 or option 3. I'm trying to think of my strength is 45 right now, which isn't bad. But if you look here, I'm starved right now, so this is not the time to. I can't show my hands. My hands are gnarled and in bad shape. Okay, I'm going to have to go for the second option. I don't think I have a choice. I don't have the time to mess around with this cop. I leap out of the darkness and smash him to the floor. Once he's disabled, I've removed his gun. I'll drag him back on to feed him. Well, the thing is, my hands, I have a specific deformity that my hands are twisted and gnarled and inhuman. So if I show my hands, he's going to know instantly that something's wrong. So I don't know if the game has taken that into consideration, but okay. There's no reason to overthink this. Your prey may be a cop, but he's still mortal, and as such, his blood belongs to you. You leap out from the archway, landing atop the startled officer. Your weight smashes him against the cold stone of the walkway. You grab his gun, throwing it into the water before he even knows what's happening. He fights back, and you take several punches to the gut before you manage to subdue him and drag him back into the shadows. Once your fangs prick through his skin, he finally relaxes and falls sedate into your arms. You drink your fill, watching carefully for anyone who may have overheard the commotion. Thankfully, the tunnel is quiet, and you're able to finish your meal in peace. You prop the officer up against the wall and scour the nearby trash cans for anything smelling of booze. You luck out and find a discarded beer bottle wrapped in a brown paper bag. When you return to your dazed victim, you slosh the remainder of the container onto his uniform and leave the bottle at his feet. It's not a perfect frame, but if you're lucky, he'll only remember the last few minutes through a haze. Your appetite largely sated for the moment, you decide to move on, always aware that there's a hunger for more that you can never fully extinguish. Okay, we're at a hunger of 3, so we gotta try our best to avoid using our abilities. Your more bestial needs attended to, you decide to head toward Corliss's offices. It's still fairly early in the night, and you're feeling confident that your sire won't hold your little hunting trip against you. The elevator hums its usual wordless tune as it ascends into the upper stratosphere of corporate finance, its doors opening into the familiar hubbub of mortals. I love that word, hubbub. Caught up in their last-minute wheeling and dealing before returning home to rest. When the sun rises again, they'll be back bright and early, enthusiastically devoting more of their depressingly finite lives to the generation of wealth your sire uses to keep the hamster wheel of free enterprise ever turning. Normally, you wouldn't visit Corliss's office while she's entertaining mortal petitioners, but she'd called and you'd answered. While your sire is able to mimic the appearance of a severe businesswoman without a hint of her Nosferatu deformities, the only method you're able to employ is slightly more crude. For a limited time, you're able to appear as an unremarkable stranger, passing through crowds of mortals without attracting any undue attention. The guys can hold up under simple social interactions, but you don't often push your luck. The double doors of Corliss's inner office are closed, and a small queue of besuited worker bees wait impatiently outside, checking their watches and phones every few seconds like a nervous tick they can't control. You slowly edge in around them, knocking on the door to announce yourself before pulling it open, practically diving in before closing it again behind you. Oh, that must be the Archon. She looks like, what's her name? She is playing Ahsoka in the Star Wars series, and she was in Mandalorian. Oh, I can't remember it off the top of my head. Oh well. They're still out there. An unfamiliar voice says from a chair in front of Rosario Dawson. Thank you, Suzanne. From a chair in front of Corliss's desk. Its occupant has her back to you, legs crossed. She's surprisingly short given the deep, commanding nature of her voice. You'll have to dismiss them, Eden. She cranes her head backward to look at you. And this is your youngest child? Come here, Silas. I don't have all evening to wait while you fidget. Corliss waves you forward and you follow her direction. The woman in the chair folds her black-gloved hands together as she looks you over. Eyes narrowed, committing every detail to memory. Her arms are thick, and you can tell that they're corded with muscle even through the formal attire. Despite her intimidating presence, she looks distinctively uncomfortable, though you have little doubt that she could spring to action in an instant regardless of circumstance. Her gaze lingers for a moment along the side of your jacket where you have your weapon concealed. You wish to see me? You ask Corliss. Not her, the seated woman says flatly. Me. I am Archon Adeline Durand, and it is my intention to finish any business in this frozen wasteland as soon as possible. Your sire informs me that you were recently attacked by the Anarch Robert Ward. Is that correct? Straight to business, then, you think. This is not a woman to be trifled with. Could she possibly know about my part in Ward's prison break? Surely I've covered my tracks. Did I leave any clues? If I'm going to hide any information from her, I better be certain that I'm convincing. I barely survived. I was almost impaled on exposed rebar before the warehouse exploded. The Archon waves her hand dismissively. I'm not here out of concern for your well-being, child. What concerns me is the Anarch's interest in you. Corliss clears her throat. Adeline, if Robert has a preoccupation with Silas at all, and that's in dispute, it would be as a way to strike back at me. My concerns about the man are well documented. The best thing he ever did for this city was to leave, and in the end he couldn't even get that right. I'm well aware of your opinion, Eden, the Archon says, a hint of irritation in her voice. I have no interest in retreading that ground. She turns back to you. Despite your sire's suggestions, your name has come up in conjunction with the Anarchs in more than half the interviews I've conducted so far. I stay silent. There's no purpose in interrupting the Archon or providing more information than absolutely necessary. I like this one, Eden, Archon Adeline says. He knows when to keep his mouth shut and when to open it. I have it on good authority, Silas, that Ward attempted to contact you last night. The feral, Hauberk, has not been subtle since he arrived in Ottawa. Did you meet with Ward? So, this is going to be interesting. So, I have no intention of lying to the Archon. But the question is, do we just say, hey, I was held against my will, or just say, yeah, I spoke to Ward. He told me the exhibition was going to be attacked. So should we go with with option 1 or option 2, guys? Do we say a half truth or the full truth? I can definitely see pros and cons to either. It depends on how, like, you know, obviously she's able to sense nonsense. You know what? Let's go ahead and just go for the full thing. See what happens. And also, there's that dream to consider as well. Yes, I spoke to Ward. He told me that the exhibition was going to be attacked. Yeah, I need to give off the appearance that there was some... I was compelled with violence, so I'm going to go with this one. I saw Ward, yes, but I was held against my will. I had no choice. Corliss's face darkens. And you didn't think to tell me this? I didn't have time. I needed to get to Alicia in time to warn her about the bomb. I'm just gonna say, yeah. Never mind with that, Eden. Archon Adeline snaps. The child has told you at the earliest available opportunity unless the Arundel's communications ban has been lifted in his absence? Orla shakes her head. Of course not. Adeline continues. The Second Inquisition is a threat that dwarfs even these anarch insurgencies. Of course, Corliss says. And Silas made the correct calls by warning Miss Grey as quickly as possible. It was the correct decision, even if it left me momentarily uninformed. Archon Adeline smiles and turns to watch you closely. And where did you see Ward? What kind of attack did he warn you about exactly? Chinatown, north of Somerset Street. You detail the location as best you can. Ward was with a woman I'd never seen before. He called her Sevink. Adeline perks up. Dark-skinned woman? Long black hair? You nod. And she had 2 Rottweilers with her. Might make her easier to track. That's her. She pauses and thinks for a moment, like she's putting together pieces of a puzzle. Be careful with that one. You get the impression that the Archon is saying this to both you and your sire. She's Banu Hakim, and quite a bit more deadly than that vizier you have here collecting mothballs. And what exactly did you discuss during your time together? Corliss asks. Ooh. He did tell me that the Tremere were going to be the ones to bomb Alicia's exhibition. Do we go ahead and tell her that the Tremere were the ones who were going to... Actually, we don't know her clan either. We don't know her loyalties. So let's try and be broad with the truth here. He said the exhibition was going to be bombed. He didn't seem interested in anything else. An interesting move for him, Adeline says. More sophisticated than I typically give him credit for. The puzzle is starting to come together thanks to your cooperation. If you were hoping for her to share any revelations, you end up disappointed. It seems the Archon isn't prone to monologuing. She turns to Corliss. I trust I'll have unrestricted access to your resources until the Anarch situation has been dealt with? Of course. Then I believe we're done here, Adeline says abruptly. She stands and picks up a pork pie hat from beside the chair. It doesn't fit at all with her normal attire, and she doesn't put it on, but the way she handles the worn black fabric speaks to familiarity and comfort. It'll be good to get back on the streets again, she says. Formalities bore me, Eden. Next time we'll meet on my terms. The Archon eyes you critically. If you're going to carry a weapon like that in a workplace, Silas, at least learn to conceal it better. A poorly concealed handgun doesn't necessarily break our codes of conduct, but it could very well attract the attention of the mortal authorities. I'm here to put fires out, not fuel them. Next time, choose to be more discreet. She opens the door and shoos away Corliss's few remaining hopeful business associates, disappearing from view as the heavy wooden door swings closed. Corliss waits a full minute before speaking. She wants to make sure that the Archon is well and truly gone. That woman is insufferable, Silas, and she has no concept of how we run things in this city. She points at your shoulder holster. Your weapon is adequately concealed and necessary in times like these. She forgets that mortals don't possess her attention to detail. I swear she only came here to heckpen me to death. She demands my attention and then complains for almost 10 full minutes about what she had to wear in order to fit in. She actually suggested we should meet at a bar. Can you imagine the scandal? A bar. I nod and remain silent for the moment. Well, it's good that you agree, Corliss says. Unfortunately, I have little choice but to entertain her. A well-positioned prince might be able to get away with briefly flouting the will of an Archon, but with Ottawa destabilized and no clear leader, it would be best to satisfy her curiosity and send her on her way as quickly as possible. If we're lucky, she might deal with our Anarch problem while she's at it. Your sire lapses into an uncomfortable quiet, leaving you feeling awkward and fidgeting. Well, is there anything else I can do to assist you? You ask, hoping to leave as soon as possible. Corliss nods. When we spoke at the council the other night, I was too preoccupied with Miss Maya's crucifixion and Trevor Haight to ask about your assignment. Were you able to speak with Miss Maya before the incident? Well, I managed to get a few minutes in with Vivian, but she didn't stick around for long. She rushed out fairly quickly after I got there and left me with her butler. Do you think she had somewhere to be, or was she avoiding answering the questions she knew you'd ask on my behalf? Well, it's impossible to know. She didn't give any hints about where she was going. She just left. No intuition? You're just not sure? Corliss asks, watching for a reaction. You shake your head. She's hard to get a read on. Well, I can't say you're wrong. We've never been what I'd consider enemies, but she was close with Arundel and may have been the last kindred to see him before his disappearance. What did you learn during your conversation? Be honest. She had a meeting last weekend with Arundel and an unnamed associate from Dubai. You try to remember the specifics of the conversation. And she told me that the last time she spoke with Arundel was when they were together with an Ashira from Dubai, a celebration over a big business deal. Corliss leans forward, eyes blazing intensely. Did she mention the specifics of this deal? Not much. Something vague about oil futures, but I got the impression there was something bigger going on. She didn't give the name of the vampire either, though she seemed rather pleased to brag about the meal they had that night. Apparently they drank from the daughter of visiting royalty. Interesting, Orla says. I'll have to look into that. It may lead to the name of our Ashira. Excellent work, Silas. Anything else? You shake your head. She left in a hurry before I could push any further. I'd have had to chase her down to ask another question, and I doubt she'd have been receptive. A knock at the door. A sharp knock comes from the door, and Corliss bids you to open it. A tall man slips into the room and stands to your left, straightening his jacket. You recognize him as one of Corliss's ghouls. Yes, Gregory, Corliss asks. What is so important that it cannot wait for the rest of the cretins outside? Apologies, mistress, but Alicia Gray has arrived and she insists on seeing you. She refuses to take no for an answer. Corliss curses under her breath. The stress of her position is clearly weighing on her. She'll want to know how I intend to deal with the attack on her exhibition, she mutters to herself. Silas, you're dismissed for the evening. I have other matters to attend to, and for God's sake, try to avoid being accosted by anarchs again. Maybe stay home and read a book. She slams an open palm down on her desk. No more crises. You pat the gun in your shoulder holster. I'm taking the situation seriously. Don't worry about me. I'll be careful. You'd better be. Corliss snips and dismisses both you and her servant. Send Miss Gray when you leave. Back on the street. You stop at the desk by the front door and retrieve your belongings before stepping outside, pulling your coat tight around your shoulders. The cold doesn't bother your undead flesh much at all, but the wind funneling down the corridor of tall buildings is biting, and you don't want to stand out from the crowd. A strange vibration from your front right pocket startles you, and you reach in, wrapping your fingers around an object that you're sure hadn't been there before. You pull it out to examine it. The phone? You mutter, quickly looking back and forth down the road to check if anyone is watching before popping open the old flip phone and bringing it to your ear. Hello?
We know what you and that cop did last night,
A distorted voice says on the other end of the line.
You only deleted the local surveillance footage. Everything backs up to the cloud these days, man. You spooks need to be more careful.
What do you want? The voice on the other end laughs.
You'll find out what we want soon enough. Lesson 1 for you people. Don't return to the scene of the crime the next day. Think you know better by now.
You're making a big mistake if you think you can extort me. Say, this won't end well if you don't back off.
That's a threat?
It's a statement of fact. Even if I let you go, there are others I work with who won't hesitate to take you out if I report this call. The voice laughs.
That's sweet coming from a terrorist. You think I can't blow this whole thing wide open? If you don't do exactly what I tell you, I could send the videos to Miss Gray, or the press.
This is no vampire, you think to yourself. This is a mortal getting in way over his head. And he thinks Key and I planted the bombs that took out the building. Not for the first time, you silently curse the fact that your clan's talents don't fool electronic surveillance, at least not without a certain level of skill you have yet to achieve. You think we planted the explosives? We didn't even carry anything in with us. Your own footage should show that.
Blow it out your ass,
the voice says.
If you were as untouchable as you think you are, you wouldn't have been so easy to track down. Who's to say I'm not watching you right now?
You sweep the street, scrutinizing pedestrian and storefront alike. It's impossible to tell where the speaker is, if he's even here at all.
You done looking yet?
The voice taunts you.
Didn't think you'd find much. But why don't you do me a favor? Go to that bank down the block and take out $100,000 and meet me on the benches outside the front of the Shaw Center within the hour. Nice and public. You get me?
That's not how it works, you protest. Man must be an imbecile. Even if I had that much money, I couldn't just walk in and take out $100,000 without setting off some serious alarm bells.
Not my problem. Figure it out, or the next time you turn on the news, you'll get a good look at your TV debut.
The line goes dead. What are you going to do? I like it that when Silas protests, he actually sounds like Picard a little bit because his voice goes a little more higher pitched. Woo! What should we do, guys? So we can go give him the money. I don't think that that's going to happen. So we need to either call Key and let him know what's going on, or kill the extortionist. What do you guys... What sounds best? Messi says call Key. Anyone else have any strong opinions one way or the other? Because I think that's a pretty significant potential Masquerade breach. Alright, we're going to go ahead and call Key. Sure, he won't mind a single phone call from a burner flip phone. Whoa, 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 whoa. But if we call him... Ugh. You know what? I'm going to let fate decide on this one. I see the positives and negatives. So if we go blue, I have a chance cube here. If we go blue, we will rock out. We'll call Key. If it's red, we're going to go ahead and take care of the problem ourselves. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We'll expose him if we call him from that phone, because I figure someone's probably tracking that. So we're going to go red. We're going to go ahead and kill him. That's what I rolled. I'm not giving the extortionist a penny. If he doesn't back down, I'm going to have to kill him. You use the phone to call Gerard's emergency number. The ghoul picks up almost immediately. Yes? It's me, you say, keeping it simple. Gerard will understand why you can't give details over the phone. You never know what keywords the Second Inquisition may be listening for. What can I do for you, sir? I'm at Eden's. Bring a car. You have another idea. And bring Bleck if you can find him. Very good, I'll be there shortly. The phone clicks and you can almost feel Gerard rushing for the keys. He's certainly been earning his keep of late. You pull open the door to Gerard's personal Buick LaCrosse and get comfortable in the back seat. It does feel good to finally be able to relax for a moment after so much stress so early in the night. The windows are tinted, rendering the night sky's ambient light pollution dusky, like a fog has swirled in and gone about gobbling up lampposts. Where to, sir? Gerard asks, shifting in the driver's seat to look you over. You seem in good enough shape. I assume there's no immediate risk of physical injury? Not at the moment, you say. At least not that I'm aware of. We need to head to the Shaw Center. Taking in a show? The ghoul asks dubiously. That's my internet, Dama. It's probably, I assume part of it's yours, but I'm also having issues with mine, so apologies. No, you shake your head. Dealing with an extortionist, and I need to be there as quickly as possible. Very good, sir. Gerard doesn't bother asking any more questions. He merges with traffic, already calculating the quickest route for this time of night. Black peeks out from under the driver's seat. Old man captured me. Now he has you too. The rat seems equally terrified and furious. Don't worry, Black, you say, stroking the back of your hand over the rat's gray fur. I told him to pick you up and bring you to me. Such nerve, the rat says, bristling. Whose eyes I scratch out? Easy, Black, you say. No eyes need biting, but I may need you soon. Stick with me for now, and I'll figure out how you can help. The Shaw Center. The Shaw Center is unlike any structure in Ottawa. The towering wall above its front entrance is a bending array of mirrored geometry, reflecting the road and distant skyline back like a funhouse mirror fractured into dozens of triangular segments. Stacked wooden railroad ties resting in front of the building serve as unlikely benches for wary passerby. Only one of those benches is in use, and you zero in on its occupant as he looks up from his phone to watch you approach. He's a ratty little thing, barely 100 pounds with greasy black hair wearing a beat-up Metallica t-shirt. You check the street in both directions. Out of the few pedestrians, only one is facing your way. You squint to look closer and barely manage to suppress a sigh of relief. Sheriff Key is here. You've gotten a call too? The extortionist motions you forward impatiently. You urge Black down your pant leg. Search for people with guns, you say with a mental command. Or anyone watching me closely from hiding and not moving. If you see anything like that, you come let me know. I sit down beside him. You sit down beside this scrawny extortionist, uncomfortably close given that you're the only two sharing the long wooden bench. He looks at you sideways. Not here, he whispers, eyes darting back and forth, watching the other pedestrians. There's someone watching us. Has he spotted Key? Or maybe he's just paranoid. Either way, it's probably best just to play along for now. Sure, you say, watching the fidgeting man closely. Wherever you want to do this. He points to the tunnel leading to the parking garage. No eyes there. We could do our business and go our separate ways. He's almost making this too easy for you. If you get him alone away from prying eyes, you can unleash everything you have on him until you're certain that he's giving you every copy of the surveillance footage. Yeah, this seems way too easy. Now, of course, that could be paranoia, which is a definite theme of the VTM books. Yeah, I'm gonna back down even though the evidence he has could ruin me. Something about this doesn't feel right. The spidey sense is tingling. You go on ahead, you say warily. I'll follow you in a bit. We wouldn't want to see me going in there together. Right, he says, swiping fingers through his greasy hair nervously. Makes sense to me. He turns and walks toward the tunnel, disappearing into the darkness of the ramp leading to the garage. You wait for a moment until you're sure he's out of view and then walk over to where the sheriff is standing. Is that him? He asks. You nod. He wants me to follow him into the parking garage, but I've got a bad feeling about it. Good instincts. I wouldn't have followed either. At least not immediately. It's a classic setup. He gestures toward the tunnel. This tunnel takes Daly Avenue underground for a block, and parking lot is off an exit to the right. We take the tunnel but go past the entrance ramp. We could sneak around through the exit ramp instead. It's not much of a surprise, but at least that way we can avoid whatever ambush positioning they have planned. You look into the tunnel, now filled with unknown danger.
And I can't talk you out of it?
You ask. No, Key says. This has to be done.
No backup?
Too many explanations. We do it clean. Let's go. It takes a moment for your eyes to adjust to the darkness of the tunnel. Several of the lights mounted on the ceiling have been broken, leaving your surroundings dim as you follow the sheriff up the ramp into the underground parking lot. Bleck skitters down the ramp and up your pant leg, his gray fur standing on edge as he crawls into your pocket. A terrified emotion floods through the bond.
He came from the shadows,
Bleck says.
Like you, but not like you. Wrong. So wrong.
You think quickly, trying not to panic.
He wasn't like me? Nosferatu?
Normal shape, no strange bits,
Bleck says.
but he wore shadows and it hurt to look at him. Take us away.
There's a La Sombra up here.
You hiss. What? He asks. La Sombra. Here? How do you know?
My familiar. I had him watching for anything unusual. He saw someone come out of a shadow cloak that had no deformities. He said the shadows felt wrong.
Damn. Key whispers. You're right. We saw at least one of the Night Clan at Alicia's exhibition, and I'm willing to bet they mind-controlled that mortal into drawing us here. Two can play at that game, and he won't know we're expecting him.
Wait,
You whisper.
are you sure we should go in there? It's obviously a trap.
I'm going to find out who's screwing with us, Key says through gritted teeth, and then I'm gonna cut his goddamn head off. He steps close to the wall and the air ripples around him. You turn away for a second, and when you look back, he's gone. A single off-white lamp on the ceiling holds back the gloom, but as you approach, the shadows surrounding it begin to bend and surge forward, enveloping the light in a blanket of unnatural darkness, chilling the blood in your veins. You turn, no longer certain that securing the video evidence is worth it, but the path behind you has also been lost to the creeping darkness.
Too late.
A mocking voice calls from the murk as the last ray of light is squeezed from the lamp above. The blackness enshrouds you, and all is oblivion. So Oblivion is the name for the obtenebration, necromancy. In this new version of Vampire the Masquerade, they combined the necromancy discipline and the obtenebration discipline into Oblivion. So I thought that was a really cool touch to it. But La Sombra are disgusting, especially their ability to manipulate shadow. The best visual representation I've ever seen of obtenebration, like in a movie, to kind of give you an idea what it's like, is the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come in the Jim Carrey version of A Christmas Carol. That is fairly accurate in terms of like what obtenebration would look like, at least in my mind. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna holster my gun and fire toward the sound of the voice. That's stupid. So we're gonna have to use some blood. I follow the sheriff's example and disappear from sight as I advance on the La Sombra's position. You step back and use the shadows to your advantage, pulling the natural sources of darkness around yourself to hide within the murk. While your La Sombra assailant is able to see within his own mystical shroud, you don't imagine he can penetrate your camouflage. Everything encircling you is covered in blotches of black on darker black, obscure movements swirling through an impenetrable cloak that seeks to suffocate you under its impressive weight. Something intangible races through the space ahead of you, sliding against a concrete column and elongating into a shadowy tentacle, constricting the column's own shadow until the real structure starts to crumble into powder. At first, all you see is a fine vertical slash of crimson advancing towards you, and then the darkness surrounding it manifests in the form of a man, head bowed low, all but the burning coal of his eyes hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. He raises black-gloved hands, nearly invisible against his fine jet-black suit, and straightens a thin, red tie, the only hue holding his physical form apart from the gloom. He leans back, exposing an ear-to-ear grin stretched across a maggot-white face. "I see you." You stand still, not so much as a muscle twitching. No sound to give you away. He must be lying, trying to trip you up. His hands twitch, sending the shadow this way and that, searching for you through the abandoned parking garage. You inch forward slowly, creeping around the path of the flailing appendage as the abyss mystic hunts for you. It'll only be moments before you and the sheriff converge on his location, and he knows it.
There you are.
The shadow pauses several feet away and then rushes in your direction faster than you can react and wraps itself around you, grinding your bones together as it squeezes relentlessly. You should have tread slower, more carefully. Did your concentration slip, or is the abyss mystic just that good? You squirm within the tentacle's grip. It can't end like this. Not here. Not tonight. Your muscles bulge with the strain as you try to force your way free, but strength alone is not enough to combat this magical means of attack. The man in black stares at you with irises dark as inkpots, a malevolent grin fixed on his face as his hands move and shift, guiding his dark servant round and round your body like a constrictor. Something inside you snaps and you double over with pain, your screams lost in the swirling black abyss. You fall to the ground, body loose like a jellyfish, immobile and broken. Did he just snap your spine? You try to focus your blood to mend the immense damage to your body, but the pressure is too much. This is it. This is the end. Silas! Silas, wake up! You open your eyes, bleary vision swimming slowly into focus. At least 3 identical sheriff keys float above you. You lurch upward without thinking, the empty feeling in your guts compelling you to seek blood in any place you can find it. Key pulls back and holds you down as you snap at him with your fangs, too weak to overpower him, but a threat nonetheless.
You need to be more careful.
He grunts, pulling a pouch of something dark red from his coat pocket. Your eyes track it with animal voracity as he slowly lowers it to your lips. When you discover what it is, you drink greedily. The bagged blood, normally something you consider absolutely disgusting, tasting like ambrosia of the gods.
You're lucky I was carrying this, he says. Bagged blood is hard to come by in Ottawa.
What happened?
You croak.
Where's...
The Lasombra's finished. He weakened himself. Threw everything he had at you all at once. He didn't expect me to follow you in.
Did you find out who sent him?
You ask. Your mind is starting to work again, to be able to think about anything other than crushed bones and ruptured organs. You look down at yourself, pleased to see you're filling out nicely as the damage left by the shadow is mended by the what little blood remains in your system.
I didn't get much out of him. I think once I had him weakened, the last of those things he summoned ripped his soul out, and all that was left was the beast. He had to be put down. There was no other option.
It ripped out his soul. What do you mean?
I don't know much about how the Magister's powers work, he says, but I know it's not like how ours function. Nosferatu gifts work on the psyche of the observer, but theirs summon something unnatural from beyond death itself. They trade bits of their souls for power. Typical Lasombra, prideful enough to believe he could handle everything on his own. You're lucky he was so arrogant. 2 or 3 of them and I might not have gotten to you in time.
What will we do with the body?
My men know where we are and they're ready a few blocks out. They'll clean up the mess. We should make ourselves scarce.
How did you get here? Did you walk? You shake your head.
Gerard drove me here. I needed to make sure I got here in time.
Is he waiting for you? You nod.
He should be down the street.
Good. I'll stay here for a moment while you get back to the car. We shouldn't be seen leaving together. Back to the car. Gerard watches your face carefully as you get back into the car. How did things with the extortionist go, sir? You settle back into the back seat and stare at the ceiling as Gerard merges into traffic and drives in the general direction of your haven. You know that he's only concerned for your well-being, but you're not sure how much you should tell the ghoul about what just happened.
I was attacked, but I managed to fight back and win. We won't have to worry about the extortion anymore.
Gerard exhales a sigh of relief. Well, I'm glad to hear it. I could feel that something was wrong, like an itching on my skin, but I stayed in the car as you requested. It's in my best interest to look after your welfare, after all. He quiets up for a moment as he makes a rather precarious left turn. It seems like his concentration is off. Where would you like me to take you, sir? I'll drop you off. Your sire requested my presence before the sun comes up, but I can do that alone. What's our stats at right now? Oh, good lord. Yep, time for more food. I desperately need to feed after everything I've been through. I ask him to drop me off at a place that I can hunt. Okay. Where do you plan to sate your cravings? We're not going to Confederation Park. We do have the small community of homeless, which, that's probably the easiest option, but let's go ahead and go to maybe... Man, that Greyhound station's got to have security cameras, right? Let's just go ahead and go for the small community of homeless. I know there's going to be a complication, but... The cloistered world of the Camarilla's ivory tower has little place or tolerance for the downtrodden, those left behind by society. To the likes of the Blue Bloods and the Divas, Ottawa's homeless might as well not exist. That is not so for the Clan of the Hidden. Despite their allegiance to the tenets of the Masquerade, the Nosferatu have a unique understanding with the underbelly of kindred-controlled cities. Perhaps it's something to do with staying underground, not daring to show your face to the mortals living above you. Or maybe there's a more innate connection, an understanding on a spiritual level with the outcast and downtrodden that society would just as soon pretend don't exist. Either way, from city to city, the link between the homeless and Nosferatu communities is a regular phenomena, even if it's one that you haven't exploited for a good long time. Bright lights flood the greenery at Gillo-Julian Park. The cold dew on blades of recently mowed grass glistening in rainbow hues as you approach what locals have begun to call a tent city of Ottawa's forgotten citizens. Tensions have been high between local homeowners and the park's newest residents for months now, and you're unsurprised to find the floodlights blazing throughout the night in an effort to make the neighborhood safe from society's undesirables. You angle west into a cluster of trees and push your way through scrub bush until you can make out the dim light of concealed fire, smoke tingling your nostrils. A sleeping bag is draped over a tree limb to form a wall against the wind, its side torn open, leaving a trail of grungy fluff blown out haphazardly. You push past it into the encampment.
Hey, come up to the fire!
A bearded man says softly, his voice drifting through the raised hood on a ragged parka that might have been blue when it was first purchased. His nose and chin are illuminated by the flickering fire, highlighting weeks of unshaved brown whiskers peppered with gray. He's roasting something over the flame.
I can't keep this going for too long,
he says, gesturing at the fire. Thank you for that, Lurksy.
Someone probably already called the bylaw folks. Enjoy it while you can. It has to go out before they get here or they'll evict us.
Us? You ask, eyes scanning the brush for others. You don't plan on getting closer to the fire. You can already feel the beast inside you scrambling away.
Yeah,
the man says as he turns his stick over, roasting the other side of whatever it is that he's cooking. Me and Danny, this is our spot. He waves with his stick a bit further to the south. A few more of us down there. Danny's out finding some more food. She got twice the energy of any of us. He offers his hand and you take it. You watch as he unsuccessfully tries to repress a shudder. Even well hidden in your warm winter parka and scarf, your disfigurements and aura can shake mortals to their core. But this man knows an outsider when he sees one, and he's determined to be hospitable. I'm Sam, he says. Don't think I've seen you around. Think I'd remember, no offense.
You said that you're all alone here for the moment?
Sam shifts slightly away from you, even though that makes his job with the fire slightly more difficult. Yeah, but there's others just down there. Why don't you sit? You're wearing me out just looking at you. If you're new, I can show you around to the kitchens when it's light out. Hot food's good when you can get your hands on it. He's gotten a better look at you now, but if your twisted fingers put him off, he doesn't show it. Many of Ottawa's homeless community have seen worse, you imagine. Or maybe not. Maybe he's just being polite. Ooh, that's interesting. We can basically get some blood dolls. That would be nice to do. Take advantage of their desperation. I make Sam an offer. I'll tell him what I need from him, and in exchange I'll provide him and Danny with a weekly stipend from my accounts. It makes sense, you think to yourself, and it's not all that different from Alicia's blood dolls. If anything, it's safer. Even if he betrays me and talks, no credible source will believe a homeless man ranting about vampires. You lay out your proposition while Sam sits there and listens closely. You make sure to keep the details to an absolute minimum, even throwing in a few false bits of information that would discredit any leaks even if they were taken seriously. You're shitting me, Sam says slowly when you finish speaking. I mean, if you were what I think you're saying, you'd have jumped me the moment you saw me. I think you need some serious help, and I don't say that very often.
But what if what I'm saying is true?
You insist, watching his eyes. The fire has gone cold from inattention and the smell of smoke diminishes, much to your beast's relief. Sam shrugs. Well, fuck it then, he says. You say you won't really hurt me, and if you meant to kill me, you've done it already. He spreads his hands out. What do I have to lose? You pull two $50 bills from your wallet and hand them to him.
That should get you started. Get some good food in you when the shop's open tomorrow.
So, how do we do this? He says, pulling his parka back from his neck. Right here? Right now?
Right now.
You lean in. No more delays, no more rationalizations. You need this. When you sink your fangs into his neck and he goes limp with bliss, your beast reminds you of the natural order of things. When it all comes down to it, you're a predator, and he's your prey. Dress it up any way you want. That is the fundamental truth. You're a monster sucking the life out of a helpless old man, and in that moment of euphoric symbiosis, you know that it's good. Your appetite largely sated for the moment, you decide to move on, always aware that there's a hunger for more that you can never fully extinguish. I like that, though. We were able to get a little bit of security, which is great. Thank you, Moonyen. I appreciate that. The lights are off when you arrive home, and flickering the switch to turn them on does little to dispel the oppressive mood. The spacious rooms feel unnaturally empty in Gerard's absence. You've grown accustomed to the ghoul greeting you at the end of the night, but of course he has business to attend to on your behalf. Can't be here all the time. So why are your muscles tense? Why the pricked nerves and disturbing sense of discomfort? You probe your chest where the shadow crushed you. It's well mended, but the memory sure isn't doing much to calm your nerves. What's our food? Okay, we're only at a hunger of 2. That's fine. Bleck jumps down from the small table by the doorway and you pick him up in a cupped hand. His fine gray fur is bristling.
Afraid?
He asked through the bond.
Strange feeling.
I feel it too, Bleck.
You say softly.
Like something crawling up my spine.
You search the outer chamber thoroughly, but nothing seems out of place. Maybe you'll feel better once you've had a good day's sleep. You put your gun back in its case before opening the door to your bedroom, half expecting to find an uninvited guest sitting on your luxurious bed. Nothing. Not even a sound. You twitch involuntarily at a delicate scraping of metal from the front room, and it takes a moment to register that it's only Gerard unlocking the front door. Sir? The ghoul calls out.
I'm here.
You reply from the bedroom.
I just got in.
Oh, that's for the best, Gerard says. I need a word with you before you retire for the day. I think Gerard's about to try and kill us.
I had a strange feeling when I got in. Is everything all right?
Your instincts are correct, sir. I'm afraid our string of unfortunate events hasn't yet reached its end. You step out from your bedroom. Gerard is taking off his jacket, placing it carefully on a hanger in the closet. It looks like he won't be going back out for a while.
What's going on, Gerard?
You ask. He slips behind his desk and sits down with a sigh. You can tell that he's been busy all day. The life of a vampire's retainer is rarely dull. Miss Alicia Gray was attacked by a coterie of Tremere this evening, he says. After she thwarted the assassination, the perpetrator fled into the sewers. Miss Gray followed, along with her ghoul Jonathan and some mortal bodyguards. There was an entire coterie of warlocks down there, hiding out in flagrant violation of the 5th tradition.
They arrived and stayed in the city unannounced,
you say.
That's not going to set well with anyone, and it's a bad look for Corliss.
Gerard nods. Alicia escaped and went directly to your sire. Jonathan is dead. Miss Corliss had no choice, sir. She's ordered a raid to drive the Tremere out of Ottawa, and you'll be joining them first thing at sundown. Great! We just finished getting our spine snapped by a Lasombra, and now we're going to be taking on one of the most powerful clans in the entire world of darkness. I feel so torn going against the Tremere. If you don't know what I'm talking about, my Tremere is like one of my favorite clans, and my first VTM Bloodline playthrough, which is my very first series ever on YouTube, I played a Tremere called Montross, so I'm going against the home team, I guess, for lack of a better term. But that was the end of Chapter 6, guys. It was very cool to see a Lasombra come in, and we'll have to see. It looks like we may have another option to level up. Let's get down here. Nope, never mind. So we're going to have to do the best with what we have. But I do want to thank you guys very much for watching. If you haven't followed the Twitch channel, please do so. I try and stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays with random times in between. And if you're watching the replay of this on YouTube, I have a link to the Twitch channel in the description below, as well as a link to the Steam page for VTM Parliament of Knives if you want to check out the game yourselves, which I highly recommend. And I also have a link down below to my Extra Life page where I'm raising money for my local children's hospital via the awesome Extra Life charity. So check out those links if you feel so inclined. Like, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill there. And we will see you next time. Later days, everyone.